Hello, hello. It's Orit Krug, and today we are talking about why your marriage has become stale, like bread, or like old bag of chips, and how do you fix it? So, the first reason is that you're creating fear in your marriage based on things that never actually happened in your relationship. And this is because of some trauma that has happened to you in the past. So I'll give you an example. A former client of ours, she had a really disconnected marriage at the time she started working with us. And she had this huge fear around her relationship with her husband becoming abusive because she had all this unresolved trauma in her body and in her system about from witnessing her parents' abusive relationship. So every time there was a trigger from that memory and from those horrific memories from the past, from her parents' abusive relationship, she felt in her body like, oh no, like, is this going to happen with us? And it's not even rational. It's not even a conscious thought that you can be aware of because the trauma is stored in your body in fragmented sensations. So it could be the way that her husband looked at her or his tone of voice, and they weren't even fighting yet. And it was, healthy conflict, but this trigger happened and all of a sudden, like, things stumble out of control within her nervous system and her body. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is going to be exactly the way my parents were abusive towards each other, the way my mom got really hurt for speaking up about her feelings. So instead of staying checked into her body and feeling that love and connection in her heart and all through her body, it was safer, she believed, on this subconscious nervous system primal level, that it was safer to not be checked into her body, to just kind of like tiptoe, walk on eggshells, not really, rock the boat. And so instead of feeling that love that she used to feel inside her marriage, that connection, and having that relationship that they used to have, she was checked out. She was just stuck in this fear. And a lot of times that was just being frozen for her. And so if you have unresolved trauma from the past, whether it was something as obvious for you as, oh, my parents, were abusive towards each other and I don't want that happening in my marriage, or it's a little harder to put your finger on, maybe you got bullied day to day in school and you really developed this huge fear around speaking up, around being seen, around speaking up about your needs, because day after day after day, you got bullied around it, and your nervous system built this dysfunctionality around being in a more activated speaking up place. And so maybe now it's safer for you to just sit back, stay quiet, and not say anything. And essentially, when you do that, you're checking out of the marriage based on a fear from the past. And so you really need to release that trauma that is stored in your body, in your nervous system, that is continuing to be brought into your relationship today. Because this isn't your relationship. This isn't about what's going on in the present. It's about what happened in the past. And that's not fair to you. It's not fair to your partner. And it just blocks you from having this beautiful, loving relationship. So you need to release that old trauma, and you need to rewire your nervous system for connection and love instead of that fear that you've been carrying around for a long time. Number 2 is that you lost your relationship and traded it in for adult responsibilities. So we hear this all the time from our clients. I personally don't have children yet, but a lot of them say, things have not been the same since we had kids. Like we lost our relationship. Or just having these responsibilities, kids, chores, all this adult stuff, right? It's not always fun. But what happens is your relationship gets lost, that fun, youthful, playful, spontaneous connection that you built your relationship on, that you once had, and now it's like, we got to take the kids to school, we got to clean up the house. And it's like you traded in your relationship and love for adult responsibilities. And, you know, it's important to have responsibilities and to share and to communicate about them. But if you're not talking about your relationship, if you're not doing things together that really spark your marriage, then it's just going to feel really dead. It's going to feel really stale. And one of those reasons that, you know, might be because you don't, again, related to number one, you don't feel comfortable speaking up about what you really want or really need in your relationship, or it's been going on for so long, things have been this way for so long that it feels scary to shift it. But you can shift it. You have to do something different. You can't expect to just think about how you want things to be different or how you want to get back to those fun, exciting times you used to have. You need to shift the conversation. You need to do something different. You need to speak up about what you need, make some spontaneous plans, have some sexy nights or whatever, and actually change those patterns. And if that feels too scary for you, then I will say that that is also related to past trauma, where it doesn't feel safe enough to speak up about what you need, or it doesn't feel safe enough to take that initiation and put yourself out there and be vulnerable and change things up when things have been this way for so long. And then number three is pretty much related to 1 and 2, but is that you're not really talking about what you need. And if you are talking about what you need, your partner isn't taking you seriously. So maybe this is happening for you where you're either not speaking up about what you need at all because of all this fear around the past, this fear that is coming from the past, actually. And if you are speaking up about it, then there's something missing in your communication. So you know your communication is off, and maybe you know what it is, maybe not. But the thing is with communication, it's 80% nonverbal, it's 20% verbal. So, excuse me, if you are stuck in these fear states, right? Like when you hold on to past trauma, your nervous system is wired for fear. It's wired to react in a freeze response, in a fight or flight response, maybe even a shutdown response. And if your underlying energy when you're communicating with your partner is fear, then this is what we do as humans. We co-regulate or we co-dysregulate. So if your body language is saying, watch out, there's a bear in the room, like, don't move. If your body is saying something like that, your partner is gonna respond pretty similarly. They might have like a different response, but they're gonna respond in fear too, like, oh no, like there's a bear in the room, watch out, we gotta take care of this, or get out of here. You know, whatever the response is that your partner makes, is that you're both dysregulating together. So as much as you might think you're communicating or you're speaking up, maybe you've even practiced a script and practiced some words that sound good and sound calm, but 80% is body language and is that underlying energy that you're communicating. If you're communicating with any level of fear, like you've got the script down, but you're freaking out underneath, your partner is going to feel that. They're going to dysregulate with you. They're going to want to run away from that bear in the room. They're going to want to fight off that bear, or they're just going to freeze like a deer in the headlights. This is what our nervous system does. We can't control it, but this is us as human beings. So I'm losing my voice today. So you need to get your body on board with what your mind is saying. There is no amount of script or words that you can practice that is going to change, that is going to change what you're actually communicating. And I'm not trying to say this is your fault, because it's not. Your trauma happened to you, and it happened to you without you being able to stop it or control it. I don't care how long you've been blaming yourself. It's not your fault. But at this point, it is in your system, it is in your body. And now that you're aware that you have it, you have to take responsibility that you're bringing it into your relationship, that it's showing up in these different ways. And the only way that you can resolve it is through releasing, accessing that old trauma stored in your body, not talking about it because that's a totally different part of your brain, and that's a waste of time after, a session of talk therapy, but actually taking it from your body through movement and rewiring your nervous system and working on that through a therapeutic relationship, right? Don't expect to do that in your relationship with your marriage, because that's gonna break things apart. Like when people have tried to work through their trauma within their marriage, like they subconsciously expect their partner to heal it for them. I did this too, by the way. Thankfully, I stopped it before my husband and I broke up for good. It's really unfair, and it really puts a strain on the relationship, sometimes to the point of no return. So you need to work on this in a therapeutic relationship, releasing that old trauma, rewiring your nervous system so you don't bring in the fear from the past anymore, so that you can have that youthful, spontaneous fun and spark your marriage again, and so that you can speak up in a way that actually communicates what you want so you can get what you deserve. And if you are interested in successfully doing this, then I'd love to invite you to book a free and obligation-free relationship review with me or my team. And we will walk you through the steps that you will need to take in order to successfully release your trauma from your unique body and your nervous system, and the patterns that you need to learn through movement in order to actually create a shift in your relationship. All the things that you want to change, you can do that through movement. And so if you want those steps, regardless if you take those steps with us or not, you'll still have this amazing map that gives you clarity, that lets you know exactly what you need to do. So you don't have to run around in circles anymore being like, why can't we get back to the way we used to be? Why are things like that? You don't have to be stuck in your head anymore about that. You can get those answers really, really clearly. So if you are interested in booking that free relationship review, then click on the link that I will put up there to the side, above or below, depending on where you're watching. And I hope to see you soon. Okay, so thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you next time. And remember, it's your time to be able to let in love. Bye-bye.